Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. Trump and China's President Xi spoke on the phone for about an hour and a half today, and we're getting some of the details, and markets are liking it so far. But before we get into that, of course, we do have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Tesla stock is down 4% today, and it's really unexpected for the most part because a lot of stocks are doing very well today and Tesla is not. Tesla is the exclusion to that. And I will share with you why Tesla is down 4% because a lot of people may not know. There's been a bit of news recently that has been negative, and I think today there's obviously one thing above all else that is weighing on the stock. But first, Trump says the call with Xi bore positive results for both the US and China. Trump says the conversation was focused almost entirely on trade. Nothing was discussed concerning Russia, Ukraine, or Iran. Trump says, quote, "Our respective teams will be meeting shortly at a location to be determined. We will be represented by Secretary of the Treasury Bessent, Secretary of Commerce Lutnick, and USTR Ambassador Greer." Trump says the call lasted approximately 1.5 hours and resulted in a very positive conclusion for both countries. There should no longer be any questions respecting the complexity of rare earth products. This is what I was talking about. It's the rare earths for the US and it's semiconductors for China. That's kind of the area of contention, okay? We want rare earths, China wants semiconductors. I'm sure a deal, that at least the framework of one, was outlined in this call. Hey, you give us rare earths, we give you semiconductors. That is gonna end up being very positive for NVIDIA. And I mean, NVIDIA's chart alone looks very bullish, but just wait until that news comes out that there is way less chip restrictions on China. I believe that's coming soon. Following this call, China's President Xi says the US should avoid a very small number of Taiwan independence separatists, dragging China and US into dangerous situation of conflict and confrontation. China's president also says the US and China should avoid conflicts because of Taiwan. China's president says dialogue and cooperation are the only right choice for China and the US. And he says the US should deal with Taiwan cautiously. He says that both sides should make good use of established economic and trade consultation mechanisms. And China's president says consensus has been reached and both sides should abide by it. And President of China, Xi, says it's important to dispel disruptions to China-US relations. And according to state media in China, China's President Xi and Trump agree to start a new round of talks ASAP. China's President Xi says the two sides should enhance exchanges in diplomatic, economics, trade, military, and law enforcement. And President of China says Trump is welcome to visit China again. And President Xi tells Trump that China implemented the Geneva Agreement. He says the US and China should reduce misunderstandings. He says the US and China should increase cooperation on economy and trade. He says the US should remove negative measures on China. And this is what we talked about on the channel for the last couple of days. This phone call was never going to be a disaster. This phone call was only ever going to be a positive. Okay, now we need more details. There's still more talks to come. A deal's not finalized. But what it sounds like we're very close. That we're going to have some very positive outcomes here. And just, again, my belief is in order for China to give us rare earths, China wants semiconductors. And I believe that is something that will get etched out and will be a part of the deal, which is going to be very good for NVIDIA. It's going to help boost the broader markets and overall be very positive for the AI sector. There's nothing like advancements like a silent Cold War, right? Without the Cold War, we wouldn't have had many of the advancements in society and technology that we have today. They would have taken a lot longer. Again, when you have a fire under your ass, you tend to get things done. Okay? When you have competition, when it's do or, kill or be killed, essentially, you get progress. Okay? So that would actually be very positive for the AI sector, for economic growth, for the economy. That's a big tail on the bell curve that nobody's even thinking about right now. Just having a little bit of competition with China would be huge. Japan's economy minister says there's no change in their stance. We want a full U.S. tariff reprieve. U.S. House Speaker Johnson and Elon Musk are set to speak on Thursday on the tax/spending bill. And the US tells the UK it must spend 5% on defense. Now, we did get some bad news in economic data today. The initial jobless claims came in at 247,000. The estimate was 235,000, and last week was 239,000. So there's definitely a little bit of weakness in the labor market as it looks like right now, but not enough to be super concerned. Now, the balance of trade today came in at negative 61.6 billion. The estimate was negative 94 billion. So that's a less of a deficit, which, is positive for GDP, but maybe not great. We'll just have to see. Exports came in largely in line with expectations. Imports came in weaker than expected, weaker than last month by about $70 billion. So that's quite a drop. That's pretty much all we had today for economic data. We did have challenger job cuts, which came in at almost 94,000. The estimate was 120,000. So that came in lower than expected, which is just planned layoffs from companies. So that's a little bit of good news today, but the big data is tomorrow with non-farm payrolls. You're expecting around 130,000, and the unemployment rate is expected at 4.2%. That is going to be really big data. And then any follow-up we get from this Trump, Xi call is obviously going to move the markets as well. And I think the markets are actually, underplaying the progress and the news that we got. The positive news that we got out of this phone call. Markets currently up about 1/3 on the SPY. I do believe this should probably garner close to a 1% positive reaction in markets. And I'm surprised we're not up more. So don't be surprised if tomorrow's a pretty big day. Now, here on the day today, percent of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average at 68.23%. So that looks pretty good. Again, you're on the high side of the last couple of years, but there's room to move higher. There's room to move lower. It just tells you where markets are as far as the breadth and the strength, which is pretty good right now. The CNN Fear and Greed Index yesterday was at 54. Today it jumped to 62, which is almost in the midpoint of greed. So, looks pretty good there, but still room to go either direction. Market momentum still in fear. Stock price strength is greed. Stock price breadth, extreme greed. Put and call options, greed. Market volatility is neutral. Safe haven demand in extreme greed, and junk bond demand currently in greed. You also got a new AI investor sentiment survey today, which is almost exactly the same from last week. Last week, you were at 32.9% of investors that are bullish. This week, 32.7%. So barely a drop, but a little bit of a drop. Neutral investors rose from 25.2% to 25.9%, and bearish investors fell from 41.9% to 41.4%. So bullish investors and bearish investors both fell, and all of the rise was in the neutral category, which is fascinating. I mean, you still have almost 10% more bears than bulls. So from a contrarian perspective, this is bullish. There is room for markets to go higher. And markets, I know you guys have heard this before, but stocks need to climb a wall of worry to go higher. Okay? There is definitely a wall of worry right now. We also do have some earnings today in after hours with Broadcom, DocuSign, and Lululemon, which can be important for markets, especially Broadcom. Now, Tesla stock today has been down anywhere from 5.5%, almost 6% at one point, down about 3.5% at the time of recording this video. The big thing that is moving Tesla stock today is the political situation, okay? Yesterday, Bloomberg reported there was a crash with FSD V11, and that had Wall Street a little spooked for the robotaxi launch. There were some people even saying that the launch would be delayed because of it. That's not true. I don't believe that is having much of an effect on Tesla stock at all today. I think it really has to do with all of the political comments. Like Elon Musk on X has been just going on a tangent, okay? There's so many different jabs that Elon has thrown at the administration for this tax bill, which is seen as kind of all of the positive things that Elon being close to Trump and, you know, in the back pocket, so to speak, of Congress has been a positive for Tesla. Well, now he's really starting to lose the good grace, it seems like. At least Wall Street is projecting that onto the stock. And what that could mean for Tesla stock is, well, it's not a good thing, as Wall Street is deeming, and that's why the stock is down so much today. Take a listen to this clip on CNBC. It is titled, "Elon Musk Ramps Up Criticism of Trump's Tax Bill." It's only about 2 minutes long, and then we'll get into all of your Tesla stock specific news today.
Ramping up his criticism of the president's tax and spending cuts bill with multiple posts on X, including one urging people to, quote, call your senator, call your congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. Kill the bill. Jimmy had the Kill Bill Uma Thurman meme yesterday. Johnson's on the tapes this morning saying that he talked to Musk and that he's apparently, quote, dug in.
Yeah, look, I think that there are a lot of people who feel, well, you know what, he's over his head. They can't really do it. He can't do anything. David, you were down there. I don't think he thinks that he can't do anything. So if he tries to do it, there's going to be an impact.
Yeah, listen, Elon Musk is not afraid of challenges, that's for sure. We know that. He and I did not discuss this during our either on or off-air conversations. We were much more focused, obviously, a couple of weeks back on business to a large extent, although we did talk a lot about Doge and the failure there, frankly. But I think Musk is truly, or was and is truly concerned that the U.S. is heading for a fiscal cliff.
Yeah.
And that our deficits and debt are simply too large and going to get to a point at which we find ourselves in an emergency situation. I think that concern is real of his. I do also believe, and this is other reporting as well, that, you know, he probably was not happy to watch the guy he thought was going to run NASA get booted, Jared Isaacman, at the last moment.
How about a provision to help flag, you know, these sales for EV, which are flagged? Right.
Well, that was part of in the bill, right, of course, but that's been in there for quite some time. Right. The elimination of the incentives for buying EVs.
That's the read behind the Journal piece today.
Yeah.
The Isaacman nom infuriated Musk, who complained over the weekend that he had donated hundreds of millions of dollars to help get Trump elected.
And there's Isaacman, who's been on our air a number of times. Obviously, he's gone up in, in SpaceX.
Yep.
He's quite funny. I sat next to him
he's a successful entrepreneur.
Time thing honoring.
The question now really is, does this continue to escalate, Musk and Trump, and
yes,
what will it mean for the bill itself?
Tesla Powerwalls provided 35,000 plus hours of backup power in Texas during last week's power outages. Tesla is the top brand of private vehicle registrations in Hong Kong. Tesla has resumed its owner referral rewards program in China from June 5th to June 30th. Customers who purchased vehicles through a Tesla owner referral can receive a discount of about $1,110 on paid paint options. Referrers will receive Tesla points worth 800 RMB upon successful referral. The program applies to Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y produced in Shanghai, as well as imported Model S and Model X vehicles. Tesla is ramping up its clean energy efforts in China by equipping its new Shanghai mega factory with solar panels and energy storage systems. The installation will include a 6 megawatt rooftop solar array and an 8 megawatt hour Tesla Megapack energy storage system. Also in the news yesterday, Amazon is developing software for humanoid robots that could eventually take the jobs of delivery workers. Amazon is completing construction of a humanoid park and indoor obstacle course where it will soon test such robots in California. The company plans to use hardware from other firms in its tests for now. That could be something like Optimus. Also in the news today, Tesla's Model Y Juniper is receiving its first recall, and it can't be fixed via a software update. Upon dialogue from the supplier, it looks like this is a windshield wiper issue. Only 172 units are affected. You actually have to take your vehicle in and get the plastic fixed. I doubt this is having an effect on the stock. It's only 172 units, but still worth mentioning. Now, in option activity today from hedge funds and institutions, you have 215 different trades totaling $138.41 million with a positive order value of 57%. If we take a look at what the short sellers are doing today, in fact, they're actually covering about 340,000 shares of Tesla. So they are covering on their Tesla short positions, which is probably a wise move as the stock has fallen from almost 370 down to the 320s today, heading into the robo-taxi event. You probably don't want to be short heading into that event. This is pretty typical for Tesla, albeit a sell-off before a major catalyst. Pretty common. It is setting us up well for a rally after June 12th. And you can also see here on the charts, Tesla bounced right at this trend line today that I've had marked on the charts. This goes all the way back to the lows you had in April of 2024, so over a year ago. And I really think this is probably one of the last little resets before Tesla stock does explode to the upside. I also think the markets are likely going to plow through our prior all-time highs here pretty soon as well. So we got to get ready for some pretty exciting stuff coming soon, in my view. Again, in the Bible, it says, as you sow, so shall you reap. Okay. What that means is you get what you give, okay? What you plant, you will receive. Just like your mind. If you're born standard equipment at birth, most people are, able-minded and able-bodied. If you plant a bad seed, a seed of crime, a seed of, bad thinking, okay? You will get the results of that, which is not good, right? If you plant the seed of being successful and being happy and having a fulfilled life, you will inevitably receive that, okay? That's why you are what you think about. You become what you think about. That's why manifestation is real, because you think about something, it changes the way you make decisions, okay? Not to get too psychological or too deep on you, but this is the planting season for Tesla. We know Tesla is going to be a wildly successful company in the decades to come. If you plant now, you will reap later. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.